Operator, give me Washington. No, not the general of the White House. Collect. They'll accept. I'm a Democrat. No one in. Operator, get me the mayor, the police, the fireman's band. Hurry.
Understand this. There's an industrial ruling class on this planet. They own democracy. They own socialism. They own fascism. They own communism. They own it all. They own every bit of it. You go to any one of these societies, any one of them, and they have a ruling class. And they do have a ruling class. They have a privileged class. They have a privileged state.
Our federal government sending agents to use tear gas and batons against peaceful demonstrators.
It is true. There's violence across the whole country. Do you disavow the violence from Antifa? That's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
About Antifa in Portland?
Yes.
Sir, there's videos everywhere online. There's fires and riots. They're throwing fireworks at federal officers. DHS is there. Look online. It gets crazy, Mr. Nadler.
Wow, so he thinks it's fake news.
Antifa's a myth.
Yeah, Antifa's a myth in Portland. Meanwhile, the whole city is on fire, and they're trying to burn down the courthouse. But, you know.
The president wants footage for his campaign ads, and you appear to be serving it up to him as ordered. In most of these cities, the protests had begun to wind down before you marched in and confronted the protesters. And the protesters aren't mobs. They are mothers and veterans and mayors.
Federal court. Is that okay? Is that okay now? No, the U.S. Marshals have a duty to stop that and defend the courthouse, and that's what we are doing in Portland. We are at the courthouse defending the courthouse. We're not out looking for trouble.
But what did we do? We left you a more dangerous beast than the one we encountered. The beast fed off of our energy. It got bigger and stronger than and more dangerous than it was when we started out. That's what we did.
Where we found that the markets only start to look at elections after Labor Day, which is exactly what happened in 2016. I think the market could live with a Biden presidency, and so that's why it's probably taking it in stride. But the proof of the pudding will be what happens after Labor Day.
Not trying to start anything. But Obama did a really good job of imprinting certain brainwash illusions in the consciousness of the people who were desperate to believe. All right?
Our federal government sending agents to use tear gas and batons against peaceful demonstrators. We may no longer have to guess the number of jelly beans in a jar in order to cast a ballot. But even as we sit here, there are those in power who are doing their darndest to discourage people from voting by closing polling locations and targeting minorities and students with restrictive ID laws and attacking our voting rights with surgical precision, even undermining the Postal Service in the run-up to an election that's going to be dependent on mail-in ballots so people don't get sick. Now, I know this is a celebration of John's life.
You know, I put these out there like democracy. All right? You know, Stefan, democracy. Hey, you know, democracy. What does it mean? It means the right of the entitled to have their majority rule thing. Democracy. We need to go beyond. This is what I'm saying about non-cooperation. We need to think outside of what they gave us permission to think about. We need to think like human beings for the welfare of the earth and for the welfare of the coming generations. We need to think outside of the prison that they have put our minds into. We need to understand the language that we use a little bit better. You know, and you look at it, because it's theoretical democracy, it's not, when it's practiced the way it's supposed to be practiced, then that's the utopia. No, democracy does exactly what it is supposed to do. It creates an illusion. It creates an illusion that you got a voice, that you have a say. It creates the illusion, see? And then by the time your grandchildren catch on, see, it repeats the same illusion because, you know, they can tell the same lie over and over and over. And they trade the illusions of progress.
Yeah, I don't understand these polls then. I mean, you don't see Joe Biden out and about. You don't really see, I mean, he did obviously release an economic plan the other day, but it's loaded with tax increases and spending on the green climate plan. And yet he's leading in these polls. What do you make of these polls? You buying it?
Between missed deadlines and unmatching signatures, all those votes were not counted. So as we get closer to November, how concerned should we be about the potential for problems? Currently, allow no excuse mail-in voting. That is a large swath of our country. But, Tom, as you know, we've got dead people getting ballots. We've got cats getting multiple ballots. Why aren't registrars cleaning up these voter rolls when literally I can't think of another job that the registrar has?
Finally, there's this. Of course, the producers gave me a cat story. Thank you. Cat gotcha vote. An Atlanta family got a voter registration application addressed to their dead cat, Cody Timms. Kristen, Cody Timms lived a long life, but he died 12 years ago.
Yep. So a lot of folks don't realize that the worlds of political data and consumer data often merge together an awful lot. And so if somewhere down the line, Cody Timms bought something at a Petco, or his owners did, but perhaps in his name, you can wind up in these consumer lists that then third-party groups can get a hold of, and they can try to register people to vote.
Today's date is Monday, the day before the Illinois election, and yet Channel 3 in Illinois accidentally put this on during Price is Right. What's your conspiracy theory? March 16th. And now, back to our regular programming. Interesting, huh?